Oh, shoot. I did it again. I didn't double check. Hold on, y'all. My privacy settings. Shayla. If my privacy settings look public, y'all, I can't see. I gotta, hold on. I meant to check it and I still forgot before I hit, pull it up. Let me get YouTube in the building first. We live. Uncle JB. Samuel Bonner, Yaya Trina, Betswabu, Shayla Betswabu, Great Rising. Okay. Let me double check my settings real quick for Facebook, beautiful people. Check to see if it's what it's doing. I thought I fixed it yesterday. Oh, okay. Okay, so I was tripping. Okay, we're good. We're public. Alright, beautiful people. Okay, let's minimize this. Go ahead and get started here. Well, everybody, y'all enjoy y'all Passover meal, the Sabbath. Seemed like we've been gone for 2 days. I guess because we had Passover, then go right into the first day of unleavened bread, which is a Sabbath. All right. Greetings. Josiah, shalom. Yes, I did, Aliyah. Hope you did too. You and your family. Belinda Brown. Wholeness, family. Wholeness. All right, beautiful people. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, that you may increase mightily, as Yahuah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in a land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuah, our God, He is one God. And you shall love Yahuah your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuah our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuah our God, as he hath commanded us. All right, beautiful people. So today, look, what's pretty cool about the spotting of this last new moon, right? So remember the the last month, and I had kind of calculated ahead of time and just used the pre-calculation. Shalom, mom. That we was off by a day, so it threw everything that I wrote off in my book. But with the calculation, I calculated the first month correctly. So I had already highlighted up all of this and labeled it the second day of unleavened bread. All this was already there from a couple months ago when I used my pre-calculations. But blessed be the Most Holy that it fell. Like, I got Passover, then I got Feast of Unleavened Bread calculated, right? And I just went through and calculated the whole feast. I'm sorry. Right there. So it was all, I already pre-highlighted from the month where I realized, oh, we need to be watching. We can't get like lazy and not actually observe, right? Because it throw you off. But here's something. I know I mentioned this But yesterday, like early yesterday, while I was sitting just kind of going through some of this stuff, what I realized something. I said it before, and I may not have said it in these words, but hold on, let me write this down. Make sure I don't lose my day. But what I realized was, and I know I type it out and I try and update on Facebook. Okay, this is the day, and I explain it a little bit on how to actually do the calculation. So it actually took me like 2 hours yesterday to type out the calculation, almost like step by step on how you calculate it and how you can double check your calculation. But in the midst of doing that, I realized what happens is, like, remember how I told you before I actually started keeping the feast, right? A lot of people say, oh, it's just a religious thing, all that. I get that, okay? You ain't got to do it if you don't want to, right? But I want to try and stick to the commands as much as possible. Because what I realized yesterday, like I knew it, but I just understood it on a different level yesterday. Actually keeping the feast, now mind you, we've been scattered four corners of the earth. Forget who we are. Now captivity is over. Everybody's waking up to who we really are. And there's probably a lot of people who are, let's use the word woke. Now I hate using that word because it's just been all chopped and screwed all over the place, the word woke. But people who have come to the realization of who we are still haven't fully realized who we are, right? I'm gonna just say it like that because some people may not be too ready yet. So as we go back daily, I'm looking for the wisdom in how to transition all of this so you can see exactly who we are, right? Okay, so what I realized about the feast is literally everything that we have need of is already on the inside of us, right? And if we would just go back to doing what Yahuah says to do, i.e. keeping his commands, not just because he's our God, yes, if you want to say that, but what I realized yesterday, and it was like, poof, it's an internal, when you keep the commands, as you get going, you just kind of doing it. Okay, you say do it, I'm going to do it. All right, so I'm doing it, and it don't click with you for the first year, maybe 2 years. I've realized some people been doing this for multiple years, and it's like, how did I understand this before you, right? Because it's just like a religious thing. They get out the church, and they still do the same thing that the church do, just boom, 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 we just do this, we just do this, we just do this. But what I realized in a matter of 3 short years, and it's like, yesterday, by keeping the feast, remember how I told you when I started keeping the feast, it seemed like I began to hear clearer than what I was hearing before. And my dreams actually start increasing more from when I was actually active in a church, right? Y'all get what I'm saying? Y'all follow me? So look, I know I keep saying this, but I ain't get to the point yet. But I'm just trying to make, I'm building up so you can see. But what I realized, another whole understanding of keeping the feast, when you keep the feast, you know, and I've been talking about it. I've been talking about, oh, it's the clock in the sky, being able to read the clock in the sky. But it actually is a time clock on the inside of us to trigger us, right? So we can see that also the feast, when you keep the feast and you understand the feast also, by keeping the feast is like throughout the scriptures, Yahuah have set the feast at some point in the year that connects to the clock in the sky, right? Like the month of Passover. This is the first month of the year. Every feast coincides with some portion of the year, and it's literally the feasts are literally like another whole time clock mechanism, right? Like I saw this, like I'm trying to explain how I saw it in my head yesterday. You know, I was laying across my bed, and as I was typing this out, and as I was literally typing it out step by step on how to recognize it. And if you read through the scripture, it's like, oh my gosh, this is like, it's encoded, like the feasts are encoded through the scriptures. And when you see something, even when David and them, the new moon feast, and it kind of points you back to stuff, it adjusts the time for you, because you know how they screw with time with the calendar. And once you realize the feast coincide with the moon cycles, it's like, wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute. I began to realize that the Sabbaths are lining up with certain moon cycles, or I'm sorry, not moon cycles, moon phases. So on every Sabbath day, the moon is always at this phase. It always look like this on the first Sabbath of the week. That always look like this on the second Sabbath of the week, which is always the 15th day. And we have time markers in here, like the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And put it at the first month. It's like it'll judge the feast. If you're looking and you can see, it's like when you keep the feast, it reminds you of the true clock and the true time clock that Yahuah has set for the world, right? So now you're learning this, and you have to kind of keep two schedules. You got to keep the Gregorian calendar that we're using, and it can be kind of confusing at first when you're first kind of like wading through the waters. Like, okay, all right, today is January the 2nd, but according to Yahuah's time clock, it is this, and this is a Sabbath, right? That's why I was like, okay, I got to write this down. But once I began to write it down, I began to see the pattern, and now it's like, oh my gosh, the feasts are not just feasts. The feasts are reminders of Yahuah's time clock that he set in the sky. I lay across my bed. I was darn near screaming. I was like, oh snap. Like I knew it, but as I was typing it out, I could see it a lot clearer. I'm like, oh my gosh, the feasts are literally time clocks. And when we keep them, we kind of keep our bodies aligned to the time clock in the sky, if that makes sense, y'all. I hope that makes sense too. And I still don't think that I explained it the way I see it in my head. And just like the quick epiphany, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like we're literally internally keeping time when we keep the feast. It's like and he made it so to where if we ever got off in any of the months, we would be guided back to the right date, right? The faithful witnesses in the sky never lie, which is probably why they do all they can to cover them up with the chemtrails to throw us off, right? But every single month you can adjust. And if you miss it every single month, if you want to precision fine tune it, you can get back on the right time clock every single week via the Sabbaths. The Sabbaths line up with the new moon phases, even if you can't see the moon. But if you've been tracking it, it's like boom, boom, boom. I know where we at. No, you're wrong, right? So if Yahuah is ever to give a call out on this day, is when we meet, right? The world is none the wiser. They're following a whole nother schedule. But if Yahuah calls his people, I need to see everybody on the Sabbath day. Everybody meet here or whatever. Everybody in your place this day. This is where I'm coming to give you this information. Right? Everybody else is using Saturday or Sunday. But this particular month, I'm going to call you in the 7th month. And on the 7th month, it's going to fall on a Tuesday. So all Yahuah's people are in place. We waiting. What you got to say? You know, it's like with us being scattered all across the world. That's why it tells us when you read through the feast, a lot of people, oh, we're scattered, we can't keep it. But if you read it, Yahuah says you are to keep these wherever you are forever, not just in the land. There is one, like the Feast of First Fruits, we're talking about when you're in the land, you keep it this way, right? So you don't defile the land, but you can also keep it wherever you are all across the world, right? And if you look at the book of Enoch, it tells you this is what happens in this season, whereby you can know this. And then it counts, right? And what I think what throws people off with the lunisolar count, or what they call it, the Jewish count, no, I say they still got it wrong. I say they still got it wrong. And it's like they're doing everything backwards from what Yahuah said, right? And I get that, because you're not the true people whom this clock belongs to, right? The ones who need to be following this. Remember, because we are the light to the world. All of this belongs to us, and we are to teach the world. It's everything been happening backwards. The world is trying to teach us. How are you trying to teach the sons and daughters of God? Like, how are you trying to teach the gods on the earth, right? They got it all backwards. And if the sons and daughters of God, or the sons and daughters of the most holy, would wake up, everything will be flipped back in the proper order. But a lot of times I see a lot of these teachers, they're trying to teach you, what they say. I was like, I don't care. They don't lie to you all the time. You're going to believe their account. And I tell people, I say, all right, listen, there was sometimes I can just explain it the best way I can, but then I tell them, I say, you go out here and test it yourself. You go keep watch. I say, you can personally do that to verify it yourself. So, but yeah, calculation is still off of my mind. A full moon is a Sabbath day. Should be day 14th if it's every 7 days. Are you saying this? Yes, it's day 15th. Look, see, y'all got to look at my calculation. Look, it's a lunisolar. Look, let me see if I can explain it again real quick, just in case y'all didn't understand. Okay, the new month comes in. Remember, we're using the sun and the moon, not just the sun or just the moon. But even sometimes that's why I was responding to one person. I'm not sure if he's here today. He's kind of like, okay, they got the new moon calculation right. It showed up, and you started your count right? But remember, the moon is the guardian of the night, and the sun is the guardian of the day. So when the new moon shows, when does she show? For the signifying that it's the beginning of the month. She shows after the sun goes down, right? So for the beginning of the month, the moon shows first, but she's only visible for about 2 to 3 hours, right? Depending on where you at across the world. Excuse me. Then, so that is the first day of the month. That's new moon day. And the book of Enoch tells us when she shows her light, that is the first day of the month. It almost says that like word for word. And if you go back and look at what I posted yesterday, I put the actual scripture from Enoch where it says new moon day, when she gains her first portion of light, that is day 1 of the month, right? Day 1. But the very next day is the first day of the sun for that month. You get it? So the sun shows for the first time the very next day. The moon showed the night before. It's the line leader of all the Sabbaths, right? So the moon showed, boom, boom, boom. We had a new month today, right? And so then the first day that the sun shows for this month is also a day 1. This day was day 1 for the moon. This day is day 1 for the sun, right? What Yahuah tell us, he said, rest on the 7th day, right? Rest from all your work. Before everybody started working all hours of the day and every time is thrown out of whack, everybody was working during daylight hours, right? So with rest, according to how he created, on the 7th day of light, you rest the 7th day, right? The sun represents the day, the moon represents the night. It's simple. I know they didn't play with it so much and they taught us a certain way that it take a second for it to click. But once it click, it won't unclick. I'm telling you, it will not unclick, right? So the moon is the guardian of the night. Boom, we show, let you know the new moon, the new month is starting. Boom, here I go, and I'm gone. She's not even standing a full entire watch. Just showing up, starts today. You've been watching for me for the last day or for the last 2 days. In the periods of the black moon, when the moon is black, it signifies the black moon is a new moon. But you can't call a new moon until the let me explain that a better way. The black moon, the last day of the black moon represents the last day of the month, of the previous month, where when the new moon shows, it is the first day of the new month. And when you understand the black moons or the transitional periods, it's either going to be, the moon is either going to be completely black, which is completely diminished of all her light, either 1 day or 2 days. That's how we know how long the months are, right? The months, according to Yahuah's time, the months are either 29 days long or 30 days long. They screw with time. They got a leap year with extra day in the year, 366 days. They got a shorter month from what the book of Enoch tells us, where all the months are 29 or 30 days, right? And they say we got 1 month that's 28 days, so they screw you up a little bit further, right? So, and if you count it, if you're keeping track and keeping count, you will see that the count lines up with what the book of Enoch says, right? So the black days depend on if it's one dark day, it's 29 days for that month. If it's 2 dark days, there is 30 days for that month, right? Now listen, how many months is it where there are 30 days? Excuse me. There are 4 months throughout the year where there are 30 days. How do we know? The book of Enoch tells us. Enoch calls them the conductors, right? And they show up in the first month, the 3rd month, the 4th month, and the 6th month. Calculate all that up. Calculate the 29 days times the other 8 months. I believe that's 240 days, plus the 4 months of 30 days, which I believe is 124. What you got? 264. It adds up to 364. And it says the year is a perfect 52 weeks. And although the moon falls behind the sun in light days, like the sun is light every single day of the year, whether it's been covered up by clouds or not, she gives her light every single day. But the moon loses light days by 1 or 2 days every month. It said, but the moon brings in the year perfectly, 364 days. And the book of Enoch gives you a calculation. So it says the moon brings in a year with precision, with 364 days. And above that scripture, it says the sun brings in the year with precision, 364 days. So although the moon is light, not all the days of the month like the sun is, by the time she gets to the end of the year, the days that she's light and the days that she's dark, the transition days, she brings in the year with the sun, with precision, both of them, sun and moon, 364 days, a perfect 52 weeks, right? Look, that's wobbling, Nikki, that's wobbling. So that's what happens. Like it may sound when you just not hear this, like, what? I don't even understand nothing you just said. But when you look at it, like I said, once you start getting from, it's like with anything, when you learning something, when it's just like, wait a minute, hold on, that's confusing, until you literally understand what's happening. And the more you look at it, it really will not take that long. But I didn't have like any extra person teaching me. And it took me 3 years to get through this as I'm observing and stuff. And of course I Googled and looked up stuff. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But it wasn't until like late last year to where I saw another person, one of our people, explaining it the same way that I began to understand it over the last 2.5 years, right? I'm like, oh, snap. It's somebody else that was taught it that same way. A black guy, I don't know where he at, but he's one of us. And yeah, I don't even remember the guy's name. I don't even remember the channel, but I remember seeing that. But now when you see it, you can't unsee it. It just kind of readjusts time for you. And when you readjust time, you can walk and you can do things accordingly. So when you go looking at people who explain, the Enochian calendar and they doing all this, it's really confusing. It really, really is. I'm like, how? Okay. Then what they want to do, they want to divide it up evenly. Okay, we got 4 quarters. The last month in every quarter, we're going to count that as 31 days. How are you just going to throw that in there when it said the conductors are the 1st month, the 3rd month, the 4th month, and the 6th month? How you going to divide them into 4 even quarters like that, right? So that's what also throws people off. And it said, and it's by the conductors where men go astray. It says that in almost those words, it said, this is why men err, E-R-R. This is how they get into error, by the 4 conductors, where they're evenly dividing the year in 4. You got the 1st quarter. They put it at, March, June, September, and December. That's how they're setting it out. They're making it even all the way around because they figure it don't matter. But it absolutely does matter if you're going to understand time. The conductors, or the long months, is the end of the 1st month, which will be March. The end of March, April time frame, whatever, how we do it. But anyways, the 1st month, the 3rd month, the 4th month, and the 6th month. The book of the entire luminaries is Enoch chapter 72 all the way to 82. I got it all highlighted up on my electronic version. But once you start getting to, what is it? The moon specifically, I want to say 76 and also 82. But it's like 76 and 77. Don't quote me on that. But I got it. If you look at my post from yesterday, I kind of pulled it out for you. But to get where it's talking about all the luminaries, sun, moon, and the stars, Enoch chapter 72 all the way to Enoch chapter 82. Like, I listened to that like a couple times. Like, somebody recorded just that section, just the book of the luminaries. And it was probably like 20 minutes long. I kept listening to it over and over. Like, when I first started, I was like, wait a minute, 'cause I'm not even understanding this. like, I mean, I just kept listening to it and reading it. But the more I got familiar with it, I'm like, oh, okay. I had to get familiar with the terminology and how they were speaking just to make sure. I'm like, okay, in English, this is what that means. That's why sometimes when I read it, I'm like, okay, this is what they just said. You know, I kind of put it in today's vernacular. So that's what I first had to get through. Now I can understand the same thing, just like the oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the sun. Sun is shining bright. That's better. It is better. Okay. I don't have that little glare. But once you get through that and you can like you can comprehend the words that are being spoken, now your understanding can move a little further. This is just like with the King James Version. When I started reading about it when I was young, I'm like, what? Thus thou art what? And thou, and I'm like, wait, what? Because I'm like, you, your, and I hadn't made the connection yet, right? So, but once you get through understanding the terminology, that's one barrier you broke down. Okay, now we can move ahead with comprehension. That's why sometimes, and that's probably why also, Dana, when you try and read BlackRoots Science, you have to, it's like a barrier you have to break through. And really that's broken just by reading it a couple times, right? Just read it a couple times. Who is this? Hold on, y'all. Dude. Hold on. Dana, don't respond to that. I'm about to go up here and block them while they up here sending people spiritual psychic inboxing me for these readings. Hold on, y'all. Cause you about to be blocked, sir. You sending it to everybody too. Hold up, y'all. Don't respond to it. I'm about to block them right now. Oh, you sending it to everybody too. Don't nobody respond to that. Hold up. You pretty quick with your trigger finger. Who is this? Horlar Milican Ismail. You about to be gone, brother. You being blocked at this very moment. Boom. Okay. Alright, I just blocked them, y'all. That's one of my pet peeves. It really is. So anytime anybody come up there, if I catch it, I'll block them. I'm glad I had this up. So okay. All right. Okay. I'm not sure if that's going to automatically delete his messages he just sent, he or her, right now, but hold on. You blocked and reported. Thank you, Dana. Okay. Yeah, oh my gosh. Everybody that's up here. Well, at least everybody that commented. They was real quick with their trigger finger. They had their message ready. Hold on. Because I don't need nobody getting like, who is this? And going off to their page and, you know, some people like, oh, they do. Yeah, we don't play that around here, people. Okay. Because that will throw some people off. I know not y'all. But there's people that watch this that I don't even really know who watches it, and they could be tempted to go and click on this stuff and inbox this person. Then you get caught up into something that you should not have been in. I don't play around with that. Okay. All right, y'all. So that's done. So yeah, I said all that to say that I realized actually keeping the feast awakens the time clock inside of us that Yahuah has set there, whereby it wakes us up further to who we truly are. Who we truly are. And I want to say that who we truly are. Because a lot of us, we don't really understand that part yet. Okay, well, with that being said, let's go ahead over here and start today. After I do my shimmer, that was a real long opening. No, I did the shimmer. I'm sorry. I did. I did that first. I just started kind of running my mouth. Okay, y'all. 1 Samuel chapter 25. It is Monday. That's what I didn't do. I didn't say what day it was. It is Monday, March the 29th, 2021, day 114 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count. It is day 783, and we are starting at 1 Samuel chapter 25. Okay, beautiful people, so let's get it going. All right. The death of Samuel. Now Samuel died, and all Israel gathered for his funeral. They buried him at his house in Ramah. Then David moved down to the wilderness of Maon. There was a wealthy man from Maon who owned property near the town of Carmel. He had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and it was sheep shearing time. This man's name was Nabal, and his wife Abigail was a sensible and beautiful woman. But Nabal, the descendant of Caleb, was cruel and mean in all his dealings. When David heard that Nabal was shearing his sheep, he sent 10 of his young men to Carmel with this message for Nabal: peace and prosperity to you, your family, and everything you own. I am told that this is sheep shearing time. While your shepherds stayed among us near Carmel, we never harmed them, and nothing was ever stolen from them. Ask your own men, and they will tell you this is true. So would you be kind to us, since we have come at a time of celebration? Please share any provisions you might have on hand with us and with your friend David. David's young men gave this message to Nabal in David's name, and they waited for a reply. Who is this fellow David? Nabal sneered to the young men. Who does this son of Jesse think he is? There are lots of servants these days who run away from their masters. So he knew about him running away from King Saul. Should I take my bread and water and my meat that I've slaughtered from my shearers and give it to a band of outlaws who come from who knows where? So David's young men returned and told him what Nabal said. Get your swords, was David's reply as he strapped on his own. Then 400 men started off with David, and 200 remained behind to guard their equipment. Meanwhile, one of Nabal's servants went to Abigail and told her, David sent messengers from the wilderness to greet our master, but he screamed insults at them. These men have been very good to us, and we have never suffered any harm from them. Nothing was stolen from us the whole time they were with us. In fact, day and night, they were like a wall of protection to us and the sheep. You need to know this and figure out what to do, for there is going to be trouble for our master and his whole family. He is so ill-tempered that no one can even talk to him. Abigail wasted no time. She quickly gathered 200 loaves of bread, 2 wineskins full of wine, 5 sheep that had been slaughtered, nearly a bushel of roasted grain, 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 fig cakes. She packed them on donkeys and said to her servants, Go on ahead, I will follow you shortly. But she didn't tell her husband Nabal what she was doing. As she was riding her donkey into a mountain ravine, she saw David and his men coming toward her. David had just been saying, a lot of good it did to help this fellow. We protected his flocks in the wilderness, and nothing he owned was lost or stolen. But he has repaid me evil for good. May Yahuah strike me and kill me if every one man of his household is still alive tomorrow morning. When Abigail saw David, she quickly got off her donkey and bowed low before him. She fell at his feet and said, I accept all blame in this matter, my lord. Please listen to what I have to say. I know Nabal is a wicked and ill-tempered man. Please don't pay any attention to him. He is a fool, just as his name suggests, but I never even saw the young men you sent. Now, my lord, as surely as Yahuah lives, and as you yourself live, since Yahuah has kept you from murdering and taking vengeance into your own hands, let all your enemies and those who try to harm you be as cursed as Nabal is. And here is a present that I, your servant, have brought to you and your young men. Please forgive me if I have offended you in any way. Yahuah will surely reward you with a lasting dynasty, for you are fighting Yahuah's battles, and you have not done wrong throughout your entire life. Even when you are chased by those who seek to kill you, your life is safe in the care of Yahuah your God, secure in his treasure pouch. But the lives of your enemies will disappear like stones shot from a sling. When Yahuah has done all he has promised and has made you leader of Israel, don't let this be a blemish on your record. Then your conscience won't have to bear the staggering burden of needless bloodshed and vengeance. And when Yahuah has done these great things for you, please remember me, your servant. David replied to Abigail, "Praise Yahuah, the God of Israel, who has sent you to me today. Thank Yahuah for your good sense. Bless you for keeping me from murder and from carrying out vengeance with my own hands. For I swear by Yahuah, the God of Israel, who has kept me from hurting you, that if you had not hurried out to meet me, not one of Nabal's men would still be alive tomorrow morning." Then David accepted her present and told her, "Return home in peace. I have heard what you said. We will not kill your husband." When Abigail arrived home, she found that Nabal was throwing a big party and was celebrating like a king. He was very drunk, so she didn't tell him anything about her meeting with David until dawn the next day. In the morning, when Nabal was sober, his wife told him what happened, and as a result, he had a stroke and he lay paralyzed on his bed like a stone. About 10 days later, Yahuah struck him and he died. When David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, "Praise Yahuah, who has avenged the insult I received from Nabal and has kept me from doing it myself. Nabal has received the punishment for his sin." Then David sent his messengers to Abigail to ask her to become his wife. When the messengers arrived at Carmel, they told Abigail, "David has sent us to take you back to marry him." She bowed low to the ground and responded, "I, your servant, would be happy to marry David. I would even be willing to become a slave, washing the feet of his servants." Quickly, getting ready, she took along 5 of her servant girls as attendants, mounted her donkey, and went with David's messengers, and so she became his wife. David also married Ahinoam from Jezreel, making both of them his wives. Saul, meanwhile, had given his daughter Michal, David's wife, to a man from Galim named Palti, son of Laish. 1 Samuel chapter 26. Now some men from Ziph came to Saul at Gibeah to tell him, "David is hiding on the hill of Hilkah, which overlooks Jeshimon." So Saul took 3,000 of Saul's elite troops and went to hunt him down in the wilderness of Ziph. Saul camped along the road beside the hill of Halkilah near Jeshimon, where David was hiding. When David learned that Saul had come after him into the wilderness, he sent out spies to verify the report of Saul's arrival. David slipped over to Saul's camp one night to look around. Saul and Abner, son of Ner, the commander of his army, were sleeping inside a ring formed by the slumbering warriors. "Who will volunteer to go in there with me?" David asked Ahimelech the Hittite and Abishai the son of Zeruiah, Joab's brother. "I'll go with you," Abishai replied. So David and Abishai went right into Saul's camp and found him asleep with his spear stuck in the ground beside his head. Abner and the soldiers were lying asleep around him. Yahuah has surely handed your enemy over to you this time," Abishai whispered to David. "Let me pin him to the ground with one thrust of the spear. I won't need to strike twice." "No," David said, "don't kill him. For who can remain innocent after attacking Yahuah's anointed one? Surely Yahuah will strike Saul down someday, or he will die of old age or in battle. Yahuah forbid that I should kill the one he has anointed. But take his spear and that jug of water beside his head, and then let's get out of here." So David took the spear and jug of water near Saul's head. Then he and Abishai got away without anyone seeing them or even waking up, because Yahuah had put Saul's men into a deep sleep. David climbed the hill opposite the camp until he was at a safe distance. Then he shouted down to the soldiers and to Abner, son of Ner, "Wake up, Abner." "Who is it?" Abner demanded. "Well, Abner, you're a great man, aren't you?" David taunted. Where in all Israel is there anyone as mighty? So why haven't you guarded your master the king when someone came to kill him? This isn't good at all. I swear by Yahuah that you and your men deserve to die because you failed to protect your master, Yahuah's anointed. Look around. Where are the king's spear and the jug of water that were beside his head? Saul recognized David's voice and called out, "Is that you, my son David?" And David replied, "Yes, my lord the king. Why are you chasing me? What have I done? What is my crime? But now let my lord the king listen to his servant. If Yahuah has stirred you up against me, then let him accept my offering. But if this is simply a human scheme, then may those involved be cursed by Yahuah. for they have driven me from my home, so I can no longer live among Yahuwah's people, and they have said, go and worship pagan gods. Must I die on foreign soil, far from the presence of Yahuwah? Why has the king of Israel come out to search for a single flea? Why does he hunt me down like a partridge on the mountains? Then Saul confessed, I have sinned. Come back home, my son, and I will no longer try to harm you, for you valued my life today. I have been a fool and very, very wrong. Here is your spear, O king, David replied. Let one of your young men come over to me and get it. Yahuwah gives his own reward for doing good and for being loyal, and I refuse to kill you even when Yahuwah placed you in my power, for you are Yahuwah's anointed one. Now may Yahuwah value my life, even as I have valued yours today. May he rescue me from all my troubles. And Saul said to David, blessings on you, my son David. You will do many heroic deeds, and you will surely succeed. Then David went away, and Saul returned home. Last chapter for today, 1 Samuel chapter 27. But David kept thinking to himself, someday Saul is going to get me. The best thing I can do is escape to the Philistines, and Saul will stop hunting me in Israelite territory, and I'll finally be saved. So David took his 600 men and went over and joined Achish, son of Moab, the king of Gath. David and his men and their families settled there in Achish with Gath. David and his men and their families settled there with Achish at Gath. David brought his 2 wives along with him, Ahinoam from Jezreel and Abigail, Nabal's widow from Carmel. Word soon reached Saul that David had fled to Gath, so he stopped hunting for him. One day, David said to Achish, if it's all right with you, we would rather live in one of the country towns instead of here in the royal city. So Achish gave him the town of Ziklag, which belongs to the kings of Judah to this day, and they lived there among the Philistines for a year and 4 months. David and his men spent their time raiding the Geshurites and the Girzites and the Amalekites, people who had lived near Shur toward the land of Egypt since ancient times. David did not leave one person alive in the villages he attacked. He took the sheep, goats, cattle, donkeys, camel, and clothing before returning home to see King Achish. Where did you make your raid today? Achish would ask, and David would reply, against the south of Judah, the Jehoramelites and the Kenites. No one was left alive to come to Gath and tell you where he had really been. No one was left alive to come to Gath and tell where he had really been. This happened again and again while he was living among the Philistines. Achish believed David and thought to himself, by now the people of Israel must hate him bitterly. Now he will have to stay here and serve me forever. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and jump on over to the Legends of the Jews. We almost done with the book of Samuel too, y'all. 1 Samuel, rather. All right, y'all. Joanne, shalom, shalom. Okay, y'all. Load this up. Okay. All right, y'all. So we stopped on page 451. On Friday, we're talking about the prophet Elijah. So now we're picking up right here at the subsection, Elijah and the angel of death. All right, y'all. Among the many benevolent deeds of Elijah, special mention ought to be made of his rescue of those doomed by a heavenly decree to fall into the clutches of the angel of death. He brought these rescues about by warning the designated victims of their impending fate and urging them to do good deeds which would prove protection against death. There was once a pious and rich man with a beautiful and saintly daughter. She had had misfortune of losing 3 husbands in succession, each on the day after the wedding. These sorrows determined her never again to enter into the marriage state. A cousin of hers, the nephew of her father, induced by the poverty of his parents, journeyed from his distant home to apply for the help of his rich uncle. Scarcely had he laid his eyes upon his lovely cousin when he fell victim to her charms. Okay, I want to say something about this. Maybe they're like 15, 20 times removed, right? Okay, I'm sorry. Look. Scarcely had he laid his eyes upon his lovely cousin when he fell victim to her charms. In vain her father sought to dissuade his nephew from marrying his daughter. But the fate of his predecessors did not affright him, and the wedding took place. While he was standing under the wedding canopy, Elijah came to him in the guise of an old man and said, "My son, I want to give thee a piece of advice. While thou art seated at the wedding dinner, thou wilt be approached by a ragged, dirty beggar with hair like nails. As soon as thou catchest sight of him, hasten to seat him beside thee, set food and drink before him, and be ready to grant whatever he may ask of thee. Do as I say, and thou wilt be protected against harm. Now I shall leave thee and go my way." At the wedding feast, a stranger, as described by Elijah, appeared, and the bridegroom did according to Elijah's counsel. After the wedding, the stranger revealed his identity, introducing himself as the messenger of Yahuah, sent to take the young husband's life. So that's, who was that? Samael, the angel of death. The supplications of the bridegroom failed to move him. He refused to grant a single day's respite. All he yielded was permission to the young husband to bid farewell to his newlywed wife. When the bride saw that what she had feared was coming to pass, she repaired to the angel of death and argued with him. The Torah distinctly exempts the newlywed from all duties for a whole year. If thou deprivest my husband of life, thou wilt give lie to the Torah. Thereupon Yahuah commanded the angel of death to desist, and when the relatives of the bride came to prepare the grave of the groom, they found him well and unharmed. So they know every time this woman get married, the day after they get married, they find her husband dead, right? So her family, after they say, "Oh, we got another one about to bite the dust, y'all. Go ahead, get the shovels, get everything ready. In the morning, we're going to find this joker dead in her bed," right? Look, so they said everybody came with their shovels. Go ahead. You grab the head, I'll get the feet. You go ahead and start digging the ditch. Let's go. And they went in there, they're like, "Yo, my G, you still alive? What's happening here?" Thereupon Yahuah commanded the angel of death to desist, and when the relatives of the bride came to prepare the grave of the groom, they found him well and unharmed. A similar thing befell the son of the great and extremely pious scholar Rabbi Reuben. To him came the angel of death and announced that his only son would have to die. The pious man was resigned. "We mortals can do nothing to oppose a divine decree," he said, "but I pray there, give him 30 days respite that I may see him married." The angel of death acquiesced. The rabbi told no one of his encounter, waited until the appointed time was drawing to a close, and on the very last day, the 30th, he arranged his son's wedding feast. Hold on. I just thought about something with the days count of the moon. This is one of the months, one of the longer months, right? Look, the rabbi told no one of this encounter, waited until the appointed time was drawing to a close, and on the very last day, the 30th, he arranged his son's wedding feast. On that day, the bridegroom-to-be met Elijah, who told him of his approaching death. "A worthy son of his father," he said, "who may oppose Yahuah? Am I better than Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? They too had to die." Elijah told him furthermore that the angel of death would appear to him in the guise of a ragged, dirty beggar, and he advised him to receive him in the kindliest possible manner. And in particular, he was to insist upon his taking food and drink from him. All happened as Elijah had predicted, and his advice too proved efficacious, for the heart of the angel of death, who finally revealed his identity with the beggar, was softened to the entreaties of the father, combined with the tears of the young wife, who resorted to the argument cited above. Look, so all three of them, right? There's three. Look, he was trying to get this man in every which way. Elijah told the newly married groom, he said, listen, let me give you a piece of advice. If you see an old, ragged, tatted, dirty-faced man coming up in here, his hair look like nails, seat him up here in the best place and offer him the best from your table. He said, okay. But this same ragged, dirty, tatted, dirty-faced old man came to the father and to the bride, right? And they all, because remember the wife said, listen, the Torah says, and it's good that she knew what the Torah said. She said, and it does say this, when you are to get married, and we don't really see that today, but when you're to get married, the man is to be relieved from all his duty for the first year of marriage so he can provide conjugal happiness to his wife, right? They need to get busy for a good solid year. Let them have that moment. Like, he don't send him out to war, because if he don't stay there, he may go out to war, he may die, he may not come back, and it will leave his wife without children and him without an heir. So let them get married, let them have fun, let them do what they do for a whole solid year. Don't nobody mess with them, right? And she said, the Torah says that for a year, so you can't touch him for a year, you can't take his life for a year, right? Touche. It do say that, angel of death, I keep your commands too, most holy. Like, people think the angel of death is like in complete disobedience to y'all. No, he is in complete obedience to y'all, right? And he only does what Yahuah sends him to do, right? Touche. That's what it say, master. Okay, I give him a year. Same thing when he went to the father, right? Look. Okay, let me go back up a little bit. A worthy son of his father, he said, who may oppose Yahuah? And am I better than Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? They too had to die. Elijah told him furthermore that the angel of death would appear to him in the guise of a ragged, dirty beggar, and he advised him to receive him in the kindliest possible manner. And in particular, he was to insist upon his taking food and drink from him. All happened as Elijah had predicted, and his advice too proved efficacious, for the heart of the angel of death, who finally revealed his identity with the beggar, was softened by the entreaties of the father, combined with the tears of the young wife, who resorted to the argument cited above of the year of exemption from duty granted to the newly married. The angel of death, disarmed by the amiable treatment accorded to him, himself went before the throne of Yahuah and presented the wife's petition. The end was Yahuah added 70 years to the life of Rabbi Reuben's son. Boom. Okay. The frequent meetings between Elijah and the teachers. Hold on. We're in the next section, y'all. It's called the teacher of the Kabbalah. Now, if y'all are not familiar with that word, Kabbalah, it's a term that you hear most of the time in the Jewish world, right? It's like to break it down in layman terms, it's ancient magic, right? Ancient Bible magic, or whatever you want to say. They take some of the things, like what they didn't canonize, they take it and hid it and kind of use it for themselves and tell everybody else to stay away from it, and they name it something else, Kabbalah or whatever. But no, you was giving this to the earth, right? You stole it from his sons and daughters. They're the ones who this rightfully belongs to, and for the overall purpose of this earth, right? Okay, so that's what the Kabbalah is. Sometimes people hear, oh, stay away from that, and also you hear the Catholics talking about Kabbalah. Wait, what? Oh, wait, what is this we're getting into? You got to learn a little bit, okay? The frequent meetings between Elijah and the teachers of the law of the Talmudic time were invested with personal interest only. Upon the development of the Torah, they had no influence whatsoever. His relation to the mystic science was of quite other character. It is safe to say that what Moses was to the Torah, Elijah was to the Kabbalah. His earliest relation to it was established through Rabbi Simon ben Yohai and his son Rabbi Eliezer. For 13 years, he visited them twice daily in their subterranean hiding place and imparted the secrets of the Torah to them. 1,000 years later, Elijah again gave the impetus to the development of the Kabbalah, For it was he that revealed mysteries, first to the Nazarite, Rabbi Jacob, and then to his disciple of the latter, Abraham ben David. The mysteries in the books Peliah and Cana, the author Elkanah, owed wholly to Elijah. He had appeared to him in the form of a venerable old man, and had imparted to him the secret lore taught in the heavenly academy. Besides, he led him to a fiery rock, whereupon mysterious characters were mysterious characters were engraved, which were deciphered by Elkanah. After his disciple had thus become thoroughly impregnated with mystical teachings, Elijah took him to the tomb of the patriarchs, and thence to the heavenly academy. But the angels, little pleased by the intrusion of one born of woman, inspired him with such terror that he besought Elijah to carry him back to earth. His mentor allayed his fears and long continued to instruct him in the mystical science according to the system his disciple has recorded in his two works. The Kabbalists in general were possessed of the power to cite Elijah, to conjure him up by means of certain formulas. And let me just say this. In my learning and some of my recent learnings and research, clearly we see it in movies, but some of the stuff y'all see in movies that y'all think is just good entertainment is not really know they're giving y'all the truth, right? And people truly are and can conjure up certain things, even by the simple act of chanting, right? Chanting can do a lot of stuff for you. Chanting in the church world is called speaking in tongues. Y'all doing the same thing. We all doing the same thing. You just call it different, just depending on what part of the world you in. I'm looking at it like this. Depending on where Yahuah has set you in the world, it's like, hear what I'm saying. It's like we all have been placed down here in this how can I say it? Like, it's like we in different obstacle courses, and I look at different religions as being different obstacle courses, right? And so it don't matter if you over here, you still got to go through these same underlying principles, which are found here, and are found here, and are found here, and are found here. They look different. The situations are different. The people look different. But the underlying principles and the laws and the teachings and instruction that you are going to learn is the same exact thing, right? Now, while we fight against, oh, you over there and that ain't right, and you over there, you doing that and that ain't right, y'all still have been set in the same type of game to figure this out, right? And while some of us, we getting, oh, shoot, I got a cheat code, and some people finding out that chanting or speaking in tongues is a cheat code, right? And what you'll find out, anybody here, let's just use church terminology. Praying in tongues will enlighten you, right? It will like enlighten your spiritual gifts, raise it to a higher level whereby you can hear clear and you can see clear. Like, literally, it happens. You just got to do it long enough for it to kick in, right? It's just like a water hose in the summertime, or something that you waiting for the water to heat up. You cut it on. If you need the hot water to come on, what come out first a lot of time? It's the cold water, then it's the warm water, then it heats up, right? Doing that is the same way. It has to run for a while. We know a saint don't have to run that long or whatever. But it's a quick process. You know, it goes through that same process, because what's down there, you got to push that out before you actually get to the heat, right? So it's the same thing with praying in tongues, or people would call it chant. And I know when you say chant, it's kind of taboo, but I'm telling you, from my studies and my understanding, they're doing the same exact thing, right? Now, depending on who you are and what your intentions are, will determine what you're chanting or what you're speaking in tongues leads to, whether it leads you to more good or just leads you to more evil, or just getting yourself in more trouble, becoming a vagabond. Seriously,
these are tools. It's the intention of what you're doing with the tools. Like me and my sister were talking about yesterday. It's not the fork that's, yeah, it has to travel, right, it has to travel from the source. Thanks, Mom. And so but this fork or this pen is not evil in itself. It's a tool to get the job done. I can use this to write a beautiful story. I can use this to curse every person that I see. It can be used for good or evil, but it of itself is not good or evil. It's just a tool. Just like a fork or a spoon or a knife. It was created for a certain purpose, and if you use it for the purpose where it was created, it becomes a good thing. When you abuse the purpose of a thing, then is when it takes on the evil description or the evil inclination. But it of itself, it does nothing. It's the person with the intentions of doing good or evil that brings all this about, right? Same thing with the spiritual tools and principles that you learn. They out there. I don't really care which one you pick up and use. Whether you're using the praying in tongues or you're using the chanting, it's going to get you to the same result. It really is. It really is, right? It's your intent of where you're going and what you want to do with it, right? Okay. Okay, I said that because of what we just read here about Elijah. The Kabbalists in general were possessed of the power to cite Elijah, to conjure him up by means of certain formulas. And when I said it, because people, like, they ain't trying to conjure up Elijah or angel, not that you really should do that for whatever reason. You can implore the help of the unseen forces. Y'all need some help. You know, Yahuah normally sends angels or whatever cause things to happen. Ooh, I gotta tell y'all something. Hold on. It just happened. Ooh, wait, look. Should I share it? I'm gonna share it because y'all gonna clearly see it. Y'all gonna clearly see it in the coming days. And I don't want y'all to think I'm sick or something, right? Okay, so let me finish this first thought, then I'll tell y'all that. Okay, so people conjure up demon spirits to help them for whatever, right? So that's the whole conjuring. You can conjure up good, you can conjure up evil, and you probably don't even want to use that word conjure, right? You can implore the help of Yahuah. I'll just say implore the help. But people, if it's taking on a more dark thing, to say, yeah, you conjuring up something, right? Because you ain't really imploring the help of the heavenly forces. You conjuring up, so you can do some mischief, right? So we'll keep it that way. When you conjure, but they both mean the same thing. Okay, so me, right? I'm gonna tell you this real quick, and I'm gonna go back to read because we're already out, and I'm gonna finish reading this section. This is gonna be it. Okay. So all of this, it comes from this right here. Okay, so me and my husband, we have a few vehicles, right? We got 4, right? 3 here at the house, and 1 we keep at the warehouse. We got to get some work done to it, right? So this, his Charger, my husband's, his project, he do all the stuff with it, got everything replaced on all this, but it's something still, we bought it from somebody, and so my husband just fixed it up, right? And so there is one particular thing that keeps going with it where it'll start and then it won't start. It's not the starter or the alternator or anything like that, because it's something digital or something on the inside or whatever. I don't know. But he had a whole new engine put in it. The transmission, all, like, literally, he put money into it, but something is still causing it to do this, right? Okay, so, but he was out here. He got in, started up. John was like, oh, shoot. I'm driving the Charger today, not realizing that he was still working on this little piece inside of it, right? So now, I said that, now let me say this. I have also been studying and praying and petitioning Yahuah. I'm like, okay, Father, my faith gonna get to work, and I need to be able to do some of this stuff, right? I said, okay, so if I can ask for angelic help, and, because if I don't know what truly I can do with my whole body while I'm learning it, surely you can send angels to teach me and help me how to operate my whole body, right? And everything and how it's designed and what I can really do with this thing, right? Okay, so this is my prayer, my relation to y'all, right? So I'm like, okay. I was like, so I got faith to believe for things anyway, right? Okay, so now I said that. So I just been my different prayers, and I'm writing down and I'm tracking stuff as I pray, and I'm asking for stuff, and I'm keeping watch. And daily, I make a note in my journal, okay, boom, 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 just so I can track my progress, right? So, okay. So go to the store, pick up, this was Friday morning, before sundown, Passover preparation day, right before sundown. Passover was that night. This happened Friday morning. Going out to the store to pick up a couple more things for dinner tonight. Bella and Zay, my 4-year-old, my 6-year-old, we want to come with you. I'm like, okay, so we're walking out. I was going to take the Ram, right? So we was going to hop in the truck, and I'm like, let's take the Charger today. It was a nice, because my husband had took my truck, right? So it was a nice day. The sun was out. We had already been out early, just walk around the track and all that stuff for the kids. The plans that we're taking the Charger today, boop, boop, you know, so hop in. They say, yes. So to get in, and plus, he got a whole sound system in there, too. So I'm in there bumping me some black and everything. I'm like, you know. So we roll the food line, get in there, get the stuff, hop back out. Now, when we go in, there's a couple here. Apparently, they locked their keys in their car. So they're in there trying to get the... They don't want to call pop a lock. They're trying to pop the lock themselves, right? So they was in there doing that. Alicia laughing because I already told her this, right? So they there trying to pop the lock. So we was in the store maybe 20, 30 minutes max. So we come back out. They still out there trying to pop the lock. So we put the food in there. I'm like, Father, send them help, you know, so they can get that done. You know, I was like, I don't know. Angelic forces, touch their hand, let them pop the lock or something. But we out of here. I go to start it up. I'm like, well, I'm saying prayer for them. Wait, hold on. What's going on with this car? And it just go, the lights come on, everything, but there is no power that start. I'm like, did I do something wrong? I said, okay, he didn't change. Maybe he did something where, okay, maybe I need to wait. Maybe with what he put in here, maybe I need to not just start it up right away, just put it in, turn it, let it do all this thing, then turn it, right? So that's what I did. Nothing. I'm like, what is going on with this car? I know he been out here driving it. I'm like, okay. I'm like, Father, I need some help. Just got groceries. I ain't trying to. Okay, then it starts up. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I was like, okay, maybe it's something. Maybe it's just me. I don't know how to operate it, or whatever. Okay, so we driving, and then my 8-year-old Josiah calls me. He said, Mom, can you get us a cheese pizza? I'm like, yeah. I was thinking I'm gonna go over here to Little Caesar. He said, no, I want the pizza from 7-Eleven. I know, gas station, convenience store pizza, but 7-Eleven got some really good cheese pizza, right? And sometimes it's better than Little Caesars, and it's cheap, $5. I'm like, okay. Okay, y'all gonna have to eat this up before sundown because it's the bread dough got yeast in it. Okay, we good. So here we go. Stop at the 7-Eleven, and my mind told me just go to Little Caesars so you ain't got to cut the car off because you don't know if this gonna happen again. Like the thought literally came to me: just go to Little Caesars, go through the drive-through, get it. You ain't got to cut the car off. You can go home. If it's something wrong or whatever, at least it won't cut off on you. No, bumping the music, feel good outside. Let's go inside of 7-Eleven. Y'all want some candy? You get some candy. You get some candy. Going to 7-Eleven. And, but we didn't get the candy. We had already got some stuff, but they wanted. So I was like, no. I was like, first, we're going to get it. But when she told me, she said, we don't have, she went to the back, she said, we don't have any cheese pizza. All we got is pepperoni. I was like, yeah, never mind. I said, y'all, we ain't going to get it. We'll get some. We'll just probably go to Little Caesars, you know. Get back in the car. Car sitting in front of the 7-Eleven. Go to start it up. Same thing happens. I'm like, darn it. Okay, what did I do? Pause. Okay. Turn it, but not cut it on all the way. And just wait. Let it do all the lights and stuff. Then start it up. So I'm sitting there going through that whole little method of what I had just did. A food line. Like 5 minutes. Then start up. 10 minutes. Then start up. When 15 minutes came, now the kids, Mom, can we go now? I'm like, chill out, y'all. Wait a minute. What are you doing? Why are we still sitting here? You know, they sitting back there. I'm like, because they had already reached into the bag and got some of the snack cakes that we got from Food Line. I'm like, look, the car won't start. I'm like, hold on, I'm about to call you dead in a minute. I'm like, man. I'm like, what is up? So I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is what he was talking about. I thought he had fixed this. I don't know, whatever. But it's already been 15 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and call him and let him know. We sitting in front of the 7-Eleven, and I'm about to ask him, look, what special thing do I need to do to get this car started, right? So he was like, oh, shoot, yeah, it's doing that again. I'm like, you didn't tell me that you didn't fix it. I'm thinking, okay, you out here driving it around, and apparently you got it fixed. That's what I'm thinking. But I didn't tell him, babe, I'm about to take the charger. You know, I didn't say, just know, we taking the charger today. Let's go. You know, so sitting in front of him, he said, oh, yeah, man, yeah. I still ain't fixed it. I'm like, well, we're sitting in front of 7-Eleven. We've been sitting here about 15 minutes. It ain't starting. He said, okay, I'm on my way. I'm at the warehouse. I'll be there in about 15 minutes. I said, okay, cool. I said, well, I'm gonna go ahead and call. Matter of fact, I didn't tell him that, but when I got off the phone, I said, I'm gonna go ahead and call AAA. Because if he gonna come pick us up, we still gonna have to get it home. So I'm like, I put in the thing to AAA, open up my app, boom, boom, and say they'll be here in like 45 minutes. My husband will be here beforehand, right? So I'm sitting here. Now here's where I just had to give y'all that quick background real quick, right? So here's where my prayer comes in to y'all. And I started thinking about what I had been researched. I'm like, okay, you said angelic help. Okay, this is nothing, right? These are elements. All I got to do is understand the right formula, how to control these elements here, right here with this vehicle. I'm like, okay, Father, listen. I need your help. I just did a simple prayer first, right? I'm like, please start this car. So we're going to have to get, first of all, I didn't want to be picked up from in front of 7-Eleven with a tow truck, right? Because here's what my mind thinking. Oh, she right here in this Charger, got these rims on it and stuff. Sis, your car broke. You got to call the tow truck, got kids, groceries in here. I didn't want to be doing it, right? So first of all, the embarrassment, I didn't want to be embarrassed being pulled from in front of the 7-Eleven with a tow truck. Like, that was my first mind, right? And I'm like, oh, whatever. Okay, my husband on the way, so he gonna take us home and he come back up here and deal with this. But I would still have to come because we got to drive one, whatever. So, but I'm like, okay, all right, Father, look. Please let this car start up before my husband get here. That way I can just drive it home. All right. In your most holy name, the mighty one of Israel, the God I serve. Thank you. Go start it up. That jank still didn't start. I'm like, okay. Let me make sure, okay, I'm cool, all right, okay. Maybe my whole pride thing, maybe the pride thing is stopping this, because I don't want to see people coming toward my car, like my car don't work. And I was like, okay, so maybe it's a pride issue. Father, forgive me for my pride. Okay, so what? Tow truck come. The tow truck come. Okay, cool. All right, but still, I want to drive this home. Still didn't start up. I said, okay. Okay. Here's what I do. Look, and at this point, I knew that Yahuah was asking me to do something, right? I had already knew. For like a couple weeks, I already knew. But I'm like, I don't know when I'm exactly going to do this. Yeah, although I practice it, I don't know when I want to start this again. And so I'm going to be honest with y'all. Because y'all gonna see it in my demeanor. You can see my face shrinking, right? Okay, so here's what. I'm just sharing with y'all. Not, Okay, so I was like, okay, Father. I promise you. If you start this vehicle for me, I'm going to go ahead and take this vow. And I'm going to go ahead and do another 40-day water fast. But I'm going to add coconut water. So I'm going to add coconut water to it just to make sure my electrolytes and all this stuff. I said, I'll do another 40-day water fast. Soon as after the Feast of Unleavened Bread is over, I said, the day after I will begin. Just to show, I said, but I need, by faith, I need it to be constantly growing. I said, so if I can't pray and ask something and it happened for me, that ain't working for me. I need what I'm doing to be working. I need to see some progress. I said, I promise you, start this vehicle to where I can call it. Look, here's the key word, y'all. Start this vehicle so I can call AAA back right now so they don't have to come tow this and I can drive it home in the next few minutes. I will start this fast the day after Feast of Unleavened Bread for 40 days. Number water, coconut water. That's my vow to you. I will. Just start this vehicle so I don't have to be told and I can drive it home. Listen to the words that I said, right? Completely open for Yahuah to do it howsoever he wants to do it, right? I said, in your most holy name. Husband on his way. Because I felt it this time, right? I done just made a vow. I feel it. My hands is hot. Because I could feel them, right? I could feel his presence. Take my keys. My keys was already in. I put my hand on that key. I goes to turn it, y'all. That jank still didn't start. Look, I'm like, okay. All right. Whatever. I said, well, maybe I ain't supposed to. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's me that just wanted to do the 40. Maybe you are not calling me to do that. Okay, cool, fine, whatever. Husband pulls up right after that, right? So I'm sitting there. Husband get out. I'm like, okay, I'm about to start grabbing the bags, but my husband get out the car. My husband gets out the car, my G. No, he get out the truck, walk over, and I thought he about to help grab some of the bags out the car. He said, pop the hood. I'm like, tow truck ain't here, we'll popping hood for her. I said, okay. I mean, I didn't say it, but I'm thinking, pop, okay. He said, look, okay, I'm going to tell you when to start it, to try it. Look, my husband pop it. Now, mind you, my husband, he doesn't work on vehicles, but he'll change the oil or whatever, but he's not the mechanic, but he understands the vehicle, but some things he can change himself, but we have a mechanic that he real buddy with the mechanic with, and he knows it by spending time with the mechanic and going through learning about the vehicle, right? So he get under there, and I can see him, I'm sitting in the driver's seat, and I can see him through the little, while the hood lifted up and everything, he's down here looking like this, he's like, and I'm thinking in my head, I don't know why he told me to pop this hood. He ain't about to do nothing up under here. We about to go ahead and get in my truck and roll home, right? And he touched something, touched this. Look, y'all. Then he put his hand on the engine. He put his hand on the engine and just kind of shook it a little bit. I'm like, what the crap? He said, okay, start it now. I'm like, I turned the key, my G. This jank cranked right up. I'm like, get out of here. He looked when it started. He said, that worked? He said, I don't know what I just did. He said, I just put my hands on it and shook it. He said, I didn't touch anything else. And clearly, I could see that. He didn't touch anything else. I watched him put his hands on it, just kind of shake it. Like something like, just, is this in place? Make sure everything nice and tight. Shook it. The car started right up, my G. And I'm like, and the first thing that hit me, listen, remember, let's go back to my prayer that I prayed. I said, Father, whereby I can start this vehicle now where the tow truck, AAA, will not need to tow it, and I can drive it home right now. And he said, all right, let's go. Come on, I'm going to follow you. And I'm like, surely there is a God. And I'm sitting here like, first of all, I didn't give Yahuah instructions on how to start this vehicle so I could drive it home. But it started, James said, go ahead and cancel that tow truck. And I'm like, and I hadn't told him. He said, girl, what's wrong with you? I'm sitting here. After the initial shock and daze, I just started hollering, laughing like, oh my God, let me tell you what I just did. Oh my God, let me tell you what I just did. He said, what? And I thought, you know how you get to laughing and you so tickled and you can't talk straight? Because I'm thinking about this vow. And I go ahead and I'm counting. The tow truck hadn't gotten here yet, right? Because they said they was still about 20 minutes out. And so I canceled the tow truck. The vehicle started. I canceled the tow truck. And I drove it home right then. And I'm like, clearly. I'm thinking to myself, Father, that was a little unorthodox. I wanted something supernatural, like pray, boom, start up. But my husband come, shakes the engine, and said, I don't know what I just did. And it starts. But he got it done. I didn't tell him what avenue. I didn't even say you got to do something so supernatural. My husband came and shook the engine and said, I don't know what I just did. I don't know what just happened. And it starts. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to make good on my vow to you. I said, first of all, that was pretty freaking awesome on how you just did that. Well, I'm thinking it was going to come like some supernatural way. Like, let me tell you, the miracle that just happened. No, you said my husband, he come just shake the engine and told us, I don't know what I just did. And I'm like, what? This is not the route of what I was thinking on how I saw this playing out of my mind with me being so super spiritual and my prayers caused the elements to change. No. It's not how it happened, but it happened just like I prayed that it would happen, that it would start up right now and we would drive it home and I could cancel the tow truck. And I'm like, okay, you are not to be played with. And I'm going to make good on my vow. So I wanted to share that with y'all. So I said that because y'all going to be seeing my face get skinny. So don't think I'm sick or something or got the vid or whatever. I'm fulfilling the vow. Was something Yahuah did for me, y'all. So I just thought that was pretty friggin' awesome, okay? So we're going to finish reading this about the Kabbalah and the conjuring. All right. And we almost done. Got this little bit of paragraph left, y'all. Hold on. The Kabbalists in general were possessed of the power to cite Elijah, to conjure him up by means of certain formulas. One of them, Rabbi Joseph de la Reina, once called upon Elijah in this way, but it proved of his own undoing. He was a saintly scholar, and he had conceived no less a purpose than to bring about the redemption of man by the conquest of the angel Samael, the prince of evil, which is also called the angel of death. After many prayers and vigils and long indulgence in fasting and other ascetic practices, Rabbi Joseph united himself with his 5 disciples for the purpose of conjuring up Elijah. When the prophet, obeying the summons, suddenly stood before him, Rabbi Joseph spoke as follows: Peace be unto thee, our master, true prophet, bearer of salvation. Be not displeased with me that I have troubled thee to come hither. Yahuah knows that I have not done it for myself, and not of my own honor. I am zealous for the name and honor of Yahuah, and I know thy desire is the same as mine, for it is thy vocation to make the glory of Yahuah to prevail on earth. I pray thee, therefore, to grant my petition. Tell me with what means I can conquer Satan. Elijah at first endeavored to dissuade the rabbi from his enterprise. He described the great power of Satan, ever growing as it feeds upon the sins of mankind. But Rabbi Joseph could not be made to desist. Elijah then enumerated what measures and tactics he would have observed in his combat with the fallen angel. He enumerated the pious saintly deeds that will win the interest of the archangel Sandalphon in his undertaking, and from this angel he would learn the method of warfare to be pursued. The rabbi followed out Elijah's directions carefully and succeeded in summoning Sandalphon to his assistance. If he had continued to obey instructions implicitly and had carried out all Sandalphon advised, the rabbi would have triumphed over Satan and hastened the redemption of the world. Unfortunately, at one point the rabbi committed an indiscretion, and he lost the great advantages he gained over Satan, who used his restored power to bring ruin upon him and his disciples. The radical transformation in the character of the Kabbalistic teaching, which is connected with the name of Rabbi Isaac Luria, likewise is an evidence of Elijah's activity. Elijah sought out this father of the Kabbalistic Renaissance and revealed the mysteries of the universe to him. Indeed, he had shown his interest in him long before anyone suspected the future greatness of Rabbi Isaac. Immediately after his birth, Elijah appeared to the father of the babe and enjoined him not to have rite of circumcision performed until he should be told by Elijah to proceed. The eighth day of the child's life arrived. The whole congregation was assembled at the synagogue to witness the solemn ceremony, but to the great astonishment of his fellow townsmen, the father delayed it. The people naturally did not know he was waiting for Elijah to appear, and he called upon once again to have the ceremony take place, but he did not permit the impatience of the company to turn him from his purpose. Suddenly, Elijah, unseen of course by the others, appeared to him and bade him to have the ceremony performed. Those present were under the impression that the father was holding a child on his knees during the circumcision. In reality, however, it was Elijah. After the rite was completed, Elijah handed the infant back to the father with the words, "Here is thy child. Take good care of it, for it will spread a brilliant light over the world." It was also Elijah who in a similar way informed Rabbi Eliezer, the father of Rabbi Israel Baal Shem Tov, the father of him whose name is unrivaled in the annals of the Hasidic Kabbalah, that a son would be born to him who should enlighten the eyes of Israel. This Rabbi Eliezer was justly reputed to be very hospitable. He was in the habit of stationing guards at the entrance of the village in which he lived, and they were charged to bring all strangers to his house. In heaven, it was ordained that Rabbi Eliezer's hospitable instincts would be put to the test. Elijah was chosen for the experiment. On a Sabbath afternoon, arrayed in the garb of a beggar, He entered the village with a knapsack and staff. Rabbi Eliezer, taking no notice of the fact that the beggar was desecrating the Sabbath, received him kindly, attended to his bodily wants, and the next morning, on parting with him, gave him some money besides. Touched by his kind-heartedness, Elijah revealed his identity and the purpose of his disguise, and told him that, as he had borne the trial so well, he would be rewarded by the birth of a son who should enlighten the eyes of Israel. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. And we'll pick it up tomorrow where it's talking about the forerunner of the Messiah. All right, y'all. So that was, where we started at? Sorry. We started on page 4. I think it was 451. I started telling my long story. Yep. I didn't write it here. We start on page 451 of the Legends of the Jews, and we pause on page 453, which we'll pick up tomorrow. Guys, we read 1 Samuel 25, 26, and 27. It is Monday, March the 29th, 2021, day 114 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 783. It is the second day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, y'all. All right, so let's go ahead and do the blessing, because some people got to go to work. So we're going to do this real quick. We already at what? Hour 25 minutes. Oh my G. Sorry, y'all. But I know I drew out the time today because I was telling my long story. But I figured it kind of went in line with what we was reading about them conjuring up spirits, and I'm trying to enlist the heavenly host to get this car started. The blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6. Verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazarite vow. And Yahuah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuah bless us and keep us. May Yahuah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people, let me just double check real quick. Over here. I just saw your comment about when I was blocking that person. I said, ooh, they done started with you this morning already, not knowing you finger blocking happy. I know they was real quick, like they had their message already prepared and said, boom, boom, started sending it to everybody. Inbox me for a private reading. Inbox me. I'm like, what? No, not today. Not on my watch. Okay. All right, y'all. He answered me speedily, Mom. Yes. Not in the way that I saw it happen in my mind, being so super spiritual. And I can say, let me tell you the great miracle that happened for me today. No, my G, but it happened nevertheless the exact way I asked him that it would happen for me. You know, so, and that's also something that let me tell you, there's something that I've learned over the last few weeks of studying a certain thing to pull the principles out of it, right? So you know how sometimes you pray when you're it's almost like when I guess you hear in the church, it's like, don't put God in the box, or don't put Yah in the box, right? So I began to see that principle in something that I've been studying, you know, something I pulled from somewhere. I'm not necessarily using the information, but nevertheless there are principles behind it. So I'm reading through it to glean the principles on how it operates, and so I'm just trying to get a clear picture of how it operates behind the scene, right, and the unseen, right? So I applied it to my prayers, which can be summed up just when you pray, don't put God in the box, right? It's simply that. So, but sometimes when we pray, we have the tendency to pray very specific prayers, and sometimes very specific prayers are needful, right, to kind of pinpoint precision. But sometimes when you make here's an example. Okay, say somebody's in need of money. Father, I need just be like I don't know, maybe somebody need to pay their rent. Father, I need $1,000, or they gonna they said although it's not normally this fast, but you'll get the example, or they're going to put me out if I don't pay them this $1,000 by tomorrow for this rent. I don't have it, so I'm going to go ask my friend John. So I ask you to have John say yes to me, give me the $1,000 so I can pay my rent, right? Because you praying like you kind of boxing him in. I'm looking for it to come from John, so I'm going to go as John, right? So when you pray your prayer, it's putting Yahuah in a box, although he can ignore your prayer by you putting it in a box, and he can answer it that way. But what I've learned is when you just kind of general, Father, I need help, you know? I need $1,000 to pay the rent, right? So now you didn't put him in a box to whereby you just kind of box him into using one resource for you, right? And a lot of times when you do that, when you put him in a box, when you're looking at a certain place, a lot of times those prayers really don't get answered. And not in that fashion anyway, but there are some very specific prayers where you can use if you're trying to accomplish something else, right? If something, just like with what Gideon did, because he was trying to be sure that this was Yahuah guiding him. So he did the whole, his prayer was very specific with the fleece. And then he did the opposite. He said, okay, let the ground be wet with, no, matter of fact, he said, let the ground, the first one was let the ground be dry, but let the fleece be full of moisture. And it was. He wrung it out. The ground was dry. He said, okay, so I can confirm that you are telling me to go forward and do this. I'm going to ask you one more time, but this time let it be the opposite. Let the ground be wet with dew, and let the fleece that sit on top of the wet dew, let that be completely dry. And he went out there, the ground was wet with dew, the fleece was completely dry, not a single drop of water in it, right? The water on the grass did not touch the cloth that was sitting there. Now, that was because he needed to make sure, because he was about to do something that literally could be life or death, he had to be certain that this was the direction that Yahuah was saying to go. Now, you can take that same, if you use that same principle in another place, it won't work. That's like using the right tool for the right job, right? If you need to, it's like if you need a screwdriver to screw in a screw and it's a flathead, get a flathead. Because if you use the wrong tool for this, if you use a Phillips, it's not going to work. Matter of fact, it ain't really going to, it's going to turn on the head of the nail. The nail is not going to move, right? And if you still not catching the clue that this is not the right tool for this, you can go get a hammer and you go bang it in. It'll get the job done. But in using extra force, the wrong tool is going to strip the hole, and the screw is going to become useless, because you're going to strip it of the tension that it would have on with the grooves, with it screwing into the wall. It would have locked itself in place with the grooves in the wall, but now you've used another wrong tool and exerted too much force, and you stripped it, thereby rendering it powerless in another way, right? You got to use the right tool for the right job. So you can't use like specific pinpoint precision prayers on certain things. Maybe in life or death situations, those work. But in other situations, those don't work so well. There's another avenue, right? So that's why I said I've been learning. I'm trying to look at these principles on how we can use them so we can pinpoint our prayers in certain situations, so we can get the desired outcome without putting Yahuah in a box with what we think and how we think it should be done, right? Give you free reign, because I'm not really necessarily sure what tool I'm supposed to use here. So I'm just going to ask for it, and then you have free will to get it done the best way you see fit, right? As we grow, we can understand situations. We can see what's happening. We can see why this is happening for you, because I can look at you and do a quick assessment. This is what's happening. And that only happens as you grow in years and understanding. You know which are the tools. Just like a master craftsman, they don't become a master craftsman overnight. They become a master craftsman by making a lot of mistakes. Not that they have to make mistakes, but while they use the consistent daily use of their tools on projects, they learn what works and what doesn't work. So now, a lot of time, if you go to hire a master craftsman, they make you pay out the yin-yang for what they want to do, even if they're only there for 5 minutes, right? All right, Trina, have a great day. So it's like a plumber coming into your house and charge you $200. You come in there, okay, all right, the plumber come in. Oh, I see what the problem is right here. They come in with a little mallet. This is what you need to do out. Boom, boom. Fix the problem. There was just a blockage right here. That'll be $200, please. Wait. First of all you did was you just came and took I could have did that. He said, listen, no, you're not paying me for what I did. You paying me for knowing what to do and exactly where to hit. You're paying me for my precise precision knowledge to help you solve your problem, my G. And that's how it is. When we understand spiritual principles, right? Not that you should go charging people for this. Some people do that. They become vagabonds. Oh, I'm the great prophet fly me in. This is what I need. This is how much I need. This is what I need to ride around. And we ain't talking about them. They gonna end up rooting themselves up out the place anyway. They gonna get in trouble because they misusing the gifts, right? You should use your gifts to help, I believe, help humanity. You can profit off of them, but don't profit like I just got a whole. That I think that just should be a gift to humanity, period. And you should have something that you do that brings in the money. So whereby you can never be accused of prostituting your gift to the people for money, right? So I bless the most holy that we have a business or whatever. So when spiritual things happen, you can't say I just did that for money. No, we got our own thing going. We don't need your money. You know, this is for your life. This is what I saw. You might want to consider this, right? So that's it, y'all. Okay. Sister Pam analysis. That's what it should be called. Okay. All right, y'all. That's it. I'm done. So I'm just chatting today. People logging off. They gotta go to work. I'm still talking. All right. You welcome, all of y'all. All right, y'all. But that's it, y'all. I see y'all back here bright and early in the morning, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.